Let's start with the required pieces for Style A. Style A is our unlined version. So we have the elbow band, the arm warmer piece, the thumb hole binding, and then the hand band. So this is Style A, hand band, binding, arm warmer piece, and then elbow band. So it'll go on like this. You see there's a seam right here. When you put these on, that seam will be on the inside of your arm, like a regular shirt. Now for the Style B, this is the line version. You'll have a liner and you'll have an outer arm warmer piece, and these pieces are going to be mirrored so that when you sew them together, you'll sew them right sides together like this, okay? So you'll have a liner piece and an outer piece. My pieces, I use the same fabric. You'll have the elbow piece and then the hand band piece. And that's all we need. Now, if you're going to do 2 arm warmers, which I'm assuming you will, this will all be doubled. But for the sake of the video, I'm only doing 1 of each. So all these pieces will make 1 arm warmer. All these pieces will make 1 arm warmer. Double them for 2. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to sew the binding on the thumb hole for Style A. So you fold it in half with the wrong sides together and you press it. And you'll get this little V shaped, right? Like that. Okay, super easy. And all you're going to do is you will wrap this around that thumb hole. And when you get to the curved part, when you're sewing, you're gonna wanna stretch that binding. So the binding is a little longer than our thumb hole, and that kind of gives you something to hold on to when you are sewing this on. So it's real easy. You just wedge it right up there against the fold line. And then when you sew, it'll look something like that. But around this curve here, that's where you're gonna wanna stretch it. So this little bit that's overhanging right here will actually end up being just a little bit longer. So let's take this over to the machine and sew it using a zigzag or other stretch stitch. Okay, so I'm gonna set this to zigzag, and I'm going to put this under, hold my tails, there. And now I'm just going to make sure that the arm warmer piece is in there. And now I'm at this curve, so I'm just going to stretch it a little bit. And then keep on sewing without sewing through my finger. There. Okay. So as you can see, this piece right here is quite a bit longer than it originally showed you when we were just pinning it on there. So because I'm here, I'm going to base these 2 pieces in place. So you just want to put them right next to each other, and then you're just going to stitch them to hold them there until we get that hand band on. Okay, so now that that is done, I'm going to trim my threads, and I'm going to trim this little tail off. So we're back at the table. I'm going to trim this little piece off here, Then I'm going to fold my bands, the hand band and the elbow band in half, right sides together. And also, because I'm here, I'm going to fold this also in half, right sides together. Okay, now all I'm going to do is sew down this end here, and this end here, okay? All right, so I'm gonna do my arm warmer first. Get those raw edges lined up. And just sew that together, right side. And I'm gonna get, this is my hand band. And you can also fold this one more time this way, and then you only actually, it makes the seam less bulky. So here, I'll show you. So fold it in half, and then fold it in half one more time. So, and because we have it folded, now you just fold it to the wrong sides together, voila, instead of having to fold it again. So that's one way to do it. This is the other way, just fold it once. This is our elbow band. Okay, so now this has to be folded again, unlike the other one when we sewed it. See, it just makes that seam a little less bulky. Next, we're going to take this and we're going to sew our bands on. So here's my elbow band, and I'm going to insert it into my arm warmer, and I'm going to line up the seams here. If you would like a seam that's less bulky, you don't have to line up the seams like this, but that's how I do it. So now I'm going to sew inside the round, which means I'm putting my foot inside of this. Just like that. This is version A, or style A, that we're sewing. This is the quicker and easier version of the two. Okay, so elbow band is sewn on. Next, we are going to insert our hand band in. Okay, now I'm going to line up my seam for my elbow band or my hand band with the seam of the arm warmer. You can line this, you can put this seam wherever you want. You could line it up with this seam here. You can line it up here. You don't have to line it up with anything. Just remember that if you line it up with a seam, it will be bulky. So if your machine can't handle bulky, it's best to just put that seam in a different location than where another seam is to try to reduce that bulk. Okay? But it does not matter where you put the seam. So here is style A completed. If you are doing style A, you'll want to do this again. You'll want to make the other side. And remember, the pieces are mirrored. So there's the one. Now let's work on style B. All right, we just finished style A. As you can see, it's very quick to sew. Style B is also pretty quick, but not as quick. So if you're looking for a quick sew, I would recommend style A. But if you have sensitivity with seams, style B is the one you're going to want to go with. It's a little bit harder, but it's good. So we're going to start the same way we did with style A. We're going to do that thumb hole. Now in this style, there's no binding. The liner will bind that thumb hole. So we take our pieces, they're mirrored, remember, so when we lay them right sides together, that thumb hole's going to line up perfect, okay? And we're just going to sew the liner to the outer piece, just here at the thumb hole, all the way around, okay? Okay, so I am going to just sew this thumb hole here. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to clip this into the seam allowance and give it a nice press. Okay, so I have it turned and pressed. So now I'm going to top stitch around my thumb hole and then, okay, so we have top stitched around and now we want to sew the pieces together. So you want to sew, you want to turn the wrong side out like this. It's kind of messy. There we go. So we just turned it inside out, essentially, okay? Like that. So we're gonna move this to the inside and we're going to line up these seams here and we're going to sew them together right down there. Okay, so make sure that the inside pieces are out of the way because you don't want to accidentally sew them. So here's my inside pieces. They're out of the way. I'm just going to sew like that. And then you're going to turn this inside out. It's going to look kind of funky like this. And then you're just going to put the other piece on the inside now and line this other arm warmer piece up, right sides together. Make sure that the inside piece is out of the way. And so. Just like that. So next we're going to turn this right side out and then we're going to work on our bands. We'll do the elbow band first. You sew it on exactly the way you sewed on the elbow band for style A. And we're going to save the handband for last. That's going to be a lot different than the other one. Okay? All right. So I'm just going to trim these threads. And we'll turn it right side out, which looks really funky, okay? You're just going to shove one of these inside. Yeah, it's caught on itself. Let's see. Okay. Let me do this like a sock. There. All right. There we have it, okay? You're also gonna wanna baste this together. So just like we did for egg, baste that together, okay? Next, you're gonna wanna work on your bands, okay? So this is the elbow band, and this is the hand band. And you can use the trick that we did for style A for the hand band, where you fold it in half and then fold it again and sew it. You can't do that for this hand band. We actually need to fold it and press it. We're gonna sew it on like bias tape. So once it's sewn together, we're gonna actually insert it inside here, and then it'll fold down on it. So I'll show you here in a second. Okay, here's our elbow band. And I folded it again. And then just gonna trim these threads off. Turn this right side out. And then I'm going to line up my seam with the seam here. And like I said about version or style A, you don't have to line the seams up with the seams. If your machine can't handle a bulky seam like that, put that elbow band seam somewhere else. Okay, I'm just trying to get these raw edges lined up here. Okay. Now I'm sewing in the round, so my foot is in, or yeah, my foot is inside. It's a lot more fabric to keep together when you have it lined. So just, you know, go slow to make sure it's all lined up as well as can be. So there's that. And we'll go work on the handband now. Okay, so next is the handband. And what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna want to take this over to your iron and iron it. First, you're gonna want to fold it in half, right down center, and press it to create this center line here, okay? And then you're going to press it 3/8 inch up towards that center line here and here. So it will look something like this, okay? And once you get those lines in there, you can fold it right sides together like this, and using a straight stitch just sew down this edge right here. Okay, we've got it sewn now. Now we gotta fold it again. So I like to open this seam up like this and then fold it. Let's bolt this way, okay? I'm folding it in half right now, and now I'm going to fold those ends back in. So those ends get folded in 3/8 of an inch. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we are going to insert this in here. So this part will butt up against the fold line on the inside. And I'm lining my seam up with that of the thumb hole seam. And you can put it wherever you would like. Let me get my clips. All right. So I'm only going to probably pin this in a few places, maybe just 2. Now when you sew this, you are going to have to stretch this handband. So keep that in mind, that you're stretching that handband, but you also want to keep the armband piece butted up against the fold line on the inside. So, and you're sewing with a stretch stitch. So let's take it over to the machine and get going. So I'm going to put on a stretch stitch. If you find this is impossible for you because you're working on one of the smaller sizes, you can actually sew this binding on the same way the binding is sewed on for the thumb hole, where you just fold it wrong sides together and then shove it in there. Then all you have to do is trim off the excess. The edges will be raw, but it's quicker that way. All right, so there we have it. Also, you can sew this elbow band on the same way that we sewed this band on if you want to make your arm warmers completely reversible, or if this seam right here bothers you. So just sew it on the same way, and that's it.